ever since, the Iron Man movie came out, or even, Christopher Reeve's Superman, there have been fans, comic book movie fans, have been always wondering, what about a Marvel and DC crossover movie? How about that? Now, there has been some precedents of that in the comic books. We've seen Superman and Spider-Man team up in the comic books. We've seen, this big, one of my favorite, probably my single favorite thing that they've ever done with the crossover was that one, I can't remember the name of the storyline, but basically some all omnipotent power brings the Marvel and DC universes together and say, only one of your universes can survive. So we're going to have you fight each other. And I think it was Storm fought Wonder Woman, Jubilee fought Robin, Batman fought Captain America, I believe, Superman fought Hulk, Aquaman fought Namor, and they did all these big battles. And then fans would write in to say who they think they should win that upcoming battle. And then whichever, team won, their universe got to survive. Obviously, both universes survived, though. And it is what it is. But people talking about that is in a live action. They wanted a movie. Now, I've said for a long time, I don't think that movie could work because no one's going to be happy if you make that movie. Everybody's going to complain that their favorite characters didn't get screen time or didn't get story or didn't get whatever. And I just think it would be a big convoluted mess. But the idea of Marvel and DC characters appearing on screen in a live action movie has always been a little bit of a dream of some fans, but never really possible. Well, then all of a sudden, James Gunn became head of one of the studios. And James Gunn is now saying that it's possible. Now, this comes to us from the folks at Deadline. It said this: in their last issue, Empire quoted James Gunn taking on the matches as a definitive maybe. I'm certain that's more likely now, doing a Marvel and DC crossover. That's more likely now that I'm in charge at DC, Gunn told the magazine. Who knows? However, that's many years away, though. I think we have to establish what we're doing at DC first. But I would be lying to say that we haven't discussed it, but all the discussions have been very, very light and fun. So, couple of things here. I'd be lying if I told you we haven't discussed it. They have frickin' discussed a Marvel and DC crossover. And it's not just that James Gunn is in charge of DC, it's that James Gunn, who is a very close buddy of Kevin Feige, is now over at DC. These two guys love each other, and they love working together. And the very first person that James Gunn called, we talked about this a couple months ago, the very first person James Gunn said that he called once he got the DC gig was Kevin Feige. He was the first one they did. And the first person to make a big public statement about how great it is that James Gunn has taken that over was Kevin Feige. I mean, and so these guys work together. So clearly, if there was ever going to be a chance of DC and Marvel having some kind of a crossover, it would be once James Gunn, who has directed really successful Marvel films, who has directed some really great DC content, is now the head of that studio. And discussions have already happened. All right. Could this and would this actually happen? I still don't think they will. I still don't think we're ever going to see a DC. The amount of lawyers you would need involved and the amount of cooks in the kitchen, because both DC and Marvel would want 8 of their own individual writers on board. It's like, who should get the best line? No, Superman should get that line. No, Captain America should get that line. Whatever. I still don't think. Plus, I'd say this. The era of when would have been a great time to do such a crossover, I think is behind us. Because if they were to do a Marvel DC crossover right now, what Marvel characters do you put in it? Tony Stark isn't there anymore. Captain America isn't there. Steve Rogers is not there anymore. The two faces and heartbeats of the franchise. Scarlett Johansson isn't there anymore. I don't think Hemsworth is going to be there much longer. And you're at the point of that you're just rebooting this DC universe. So I think one of the most interesting and probably smartest thing that James Gunn said in the statement was like, look, if it could happen, if it can, and we have discussed it, it would be years away. And that's key because he's right. We don't even know who our Superman is right now. We don't even know who our Batman is right now. James Gunn is thinking long term. And I love that, saying, let's not jump the gun on what could be popular. Because I'm probably sure there's some people walking around the halls of Warner Brothers going, hey, you know what kind of a pop we could get if we did a Marvel DC crossover? But James Gunn's like, whoa. we got to get our house in order first. We got to make sure that we not only introduce our Batman, our Superman, and all that kind of stuff. We need to make sure that we are getting them over with the audience. We need to make sure that these are characters that the audience beloved, that if we were to step out and do a crossover with Marvel, that number one, it would be something that would interest and entertain our audience. And number two, make sure we don't get completely overshadowed by the characters coming in from Marvel. We got to make sure we build our universe first. So, am I good with the idea that they're talking about future possibilities? Sure. But I also really believe James Gunn is 1,000% right in saying, but listen, before we can even entertain that seriously, we got to get our house in order. And if they were to do a Marvel and DC crossover, I don't think Justice League versus Avengers is the way to go. I think Spider-Man, Superman is the way to go. What I mean by that is, I think you take one or two characters from Marvel and one or two characters from, see, I think Batman and Spider-Man also had a crossover once where Joker and Carnage teamed up, and they had to do that, right? See, that becomes a much more manageable proposition. You're not trying to deal with 30 different characters and whatever's going to do. You take two characters, maybe three or four, and you create a circumstance where universes collide and you just got a story with those core characters. I think that would be the wiser way to go than trying to bring in 25 different Marvel characters and 18 different DC characters and just have some kind of big troubled mess. But I don't know. I still don't think this will happen. But if it does, it'll be quite a ways down the line. And I think that's smart on the part of James Gunn. And if it does, I think their better approach would be to make it a smaller thing. I don't know, Chris, listen, fans have been talking forever about the idea of a Marvel DC crossover. Can't even imagine what a story for it would be. But what do you think about James Gunn's comments? And could you see this happening? And if so, how?
I mean, somewhere RMB is just high-fiving 1,000 angels, being like, I was right. Excellent. Meanwhile, in the Hall of Me, he's so happy about it. I think that definite maybe is the dumbest thing. It has fixin' energy. Oh, yeah, time is nebulous, so maybe at some point probably we're for sure thinking about doing a thing. Cool. I'm thinking about doing a lot of things. That doesn't mean they're going to happen. That being said, the camaraderie you spoke of is exactly why there is potential for this. Gunn and Feige very much have that same kind of vibe of Colbert and Fallon when they both were coming to late night of, we're bearing the hatchet. We're letting everyone know that we love the spirit of competition between us. We are rooting for the other person. There is no bad blood here. Feige and Gunn have that same kind of energy. I can't wait to see what DC does. I can't wait to see what Marvel does. I'm so excited. We're hopefully going to level each other up. So I could see us doing this. And I want it for selfish reasons too, because in the actual verses, right, we have Wolverine versus Lobo, but most of that bar fight takes place off panel, and I want to see it. I want to see it happen. There also was a couple bit of like weird matching there. Robin versus Jubilee, I thought was an odd pair. Batman versus Captain America, while very, very fun to have, you know, the Boy Scout versus the Brooding, again, seemed a little off, like powers-wise, or lack of powers, I should say. I always like the idea
of Daredevil and Batman.
Yeah, I think that's fun. I think that'd be very, very cool. I liked Superman versus Hulk. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But I think there's a lot of room to do something really, really cool here. But to your point, too, we are so far away from this. We don't even have that standalone Superman movie out yet. So how is he going to battle an entirely different universe of characters? We don't have any of these new DC characters established as well. So sure, maybe we're fixing to do this at some point in the far future.
All right, guys. Question is for you. James Gunn has said, listen, I'm not going to lie. There have been discussions about a possible Marvel DC crossover, but it would be years away. Do you think it's actually a good idea? Do you think it will ever happen? And if they do it, do you think it's something they should do with like some big massive thing or some smaller scale thing? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know I made the switch over to Mint Mobile a while ago. The process couldn't have been easier, and I can't believe that I am spending less than a third of what I was spending on one of the other major carriers before. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea.